Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing Lucifer part 3. This is the last part of looking into the angel of light, Lucifer, who becomes the angel of light or the angel of darkness. I'm going to begin this study, I will call it a study, by looking into Isaiah chapter 14. Isaiah chapter 14. Verse 12. How you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning, how you are cut down to the ground, you who weaken the nations. For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will also sit on the mount of the congregation, on the farthest sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet you shall be brought down to Sheol, to the lowest pit, to the lowest depths of the pit. Those who see you will gaze at you and consider you, saying, is this a man who made the earth tremble? So when you look at these verses, which is from verse 12 to verse 16, you can see the nature of Lucifer here, who as an angel of light is said to be the son of the morning. There are at least 3 sons that I consider when I look at the timeline of this time period. Whether you look at the priests, the Levites, or the Nethinims, you can see that there are at least 3 sons. There's a son of the father, Barabbas. There's a son of the morning, the son of the morning, Lucifer, who otherwise also becomes the son of the morning star, that being Christ. Because when you read the Great Controversy, you can see that the son of the morning star is Christ, and Lucifer is called here the son of the morning. So you can see this angel of light being Lucifer or Christ. So the messages that come in, and the angel that comes down to share a specific message for a specific time, can be either Christ or it can be Lucifer. But as we're talking about it now, it's represented as Lucifer, the son of the morning. But once we put Esther into the picture and we say the son of the morning star, we're saying Lucifer and Esther, and together they make the son of the morning star, and the son of the morning star is Christ. Now we're going to talk about the events that have transpired so far. In the previous videos, when I was looking at Lucifer in Lucifer 1 and Lucifer 2, when I shared that Lucifer in this time period since 2021 was represented by President Biden, you can see then that if we are correct with history and President Trump becomes Hezekiah, asking for 15 days for the sun to be set back, and that 15 days where the sun was set back is 1 hour. So he reigns for 1 hour, and I believe that that 1 hour is a 1 hour that begins next year in 2025. Next year, I believe that President Trump comes back into the scene of his history, and his prayer is answered, where he was sick and he becomes healed, and that 1 hour, which is 15 days, is added to him, and that is 0.5. The 0.5 that I was talking about when I was talking about the messages in 2020, 0.5 being 0.5 and 395.5, moving from the messages of the 27th of July 1449 to the 11th of August 1840 in during the time of the Millerites and the time of Ellen White's movement. So you can see that history is repeating to the very letter. Therefore, the time period of having President Trump back in its history next year is consistent with history too. Then President Trump becomes who President Biden was in 2021, and he becomes Lucifer again, who comes to bless. But then we don't know the nature of how he turns, or whether or not he does turn in 2029 and he becomes Satan. I want to read a portion from The Great Controversy from the chapter Enmity Between Man and Satan. Let me just get it. I just need to quickly find out. Chapter 30. Okay, I found it. If you read from the beginning, it says, I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Genesis 3 verse 15. The divine sentence pronounced against Satan after the fall of man was also a prophecy, embracing all the ages to the close of time, and foreshadowing the great conflict to engage all the races of men who should live upon the earth. God declares, I will put enmity. This enmity is not naturally entertained. When man transgressed the divine law, his nature became evil, and he was in harmony and not at variance with Satan. There exists naturally no enmity between sinful man and the originator of sin. Both became evil through apostasy. The apostate is never at rest, except as he obtains sympathy and support by inducing others to follow his example. For this reason, fallen angels and wicked men unite in desperate companionship. Had not God specially interposed, Satan and man would have entered into an alliance against heaven, and instead of cherishing enmity against Satan, the whole human family would have been united in opposition to God. So you can see here that throughout our entire lives we're always in this warfare between the good and the evil, but that's not where I am now. When God separated man, and when he separated the woman and the and the snake and put enmity between them, there was already a problem that started there. So when we're talking about Lucifer, we can already see a gray line. There is a gray line, because when we're talking about Lucifer, and Lucifer being the same angel, when he started as Lucifer, the angel of light, and he ended up as Satan, the angel of darkness, there is that gray line in between. At what point do we then say Lucifer is the angel of light and Satan is the angel of darkness? Can we yet now separate between the two? And when he comes to bless, who then does he bless? Because now it looks as if light will look like darkness and darkness will look like light. When we read Daniel chapter 10. We can see here that Daniel has his 3 touches, but you see that as he's having these 3 touches, I want to read the verse where Gabriel comes to Daniel and he's talking about his fight with the prince of Persia, the prince of Persia being Satan. I'm reading Daniel chapter 10 verse 20, which says, "Then he said, 'Do you know why I have come to you? And now I must return to fight the prince of Persia. And when I have gone forth, indeed the prince of Greece will come.'" So you can already see that this is Gabriel speaking to come and strengthen Daniel in his 3 touches. If you read from verse 19, he says, "And he said, 'O man, greatly beloved, fear not, peace be to you. Be strong, yes, be strong.' So when he spoke to me, I was strengthened and said, 'Let my Lord speak, for you have strengthened me.'" So you can already see that when Daniel was in these 3 touches and he was going through this time of purification, Gabriel comes from his fight with the prince of Persia, and that being Satan. So next year we see that Lucifer comes and he comes to bless. When he comes to bless, those who have the light get greater light, and those who are in darkness go into deeper and deeper darkness. "Weeping we shall endure for the night, but joy comes in the morning." When you look at the time period in which 2021 started, 2021 came and President Biden came into the scene of Earth's history, and there were many things that were going on. We were dealing with scourges, that being tuberculosis, heart disease, and cancer, but more so, we were dealing with one of the most important pandemics, if not one of the worst, and that was COVID-19. COVID-19 came into Earth's history, and not just COVID-19, but in South Africa they also had an Omicron come into Earth's history. So we're dealing with these health strikings, and we're stricken in our health. And with that, we find that we've lost our loved ones in the process. My grandmother passed away in 2020, but she didn't pass away with COVID-19. But when she was laying in bed in the hospital, she was laying with people who were laying there dying because of COVID-19. So during this time period, we have experienced a lot of heartbreak. We have experienced many things that have touched us in our bodies. Many times we stood on social media to try and console each other over the loved ones that we've lost. Consolations to friends and family, and consolations to many people around the world who've lost loved ones over wars and the pandemic. We stood together in help to each other, helping with this emotional, heartbreaking time period that we're in, where we're trying to deal with all of these problems. The insect phase of Ezekiel chapter 4 verse 4 began in Sorry. When we look at the time period between 2021 and 2024, we see many things that have happened. Not only the pandemic, but also President Biden coming into Earth's history. When he came into Earth's history, there were many things that were uncertain. The war between the Taliban was uncertain. My messages were uncertain. Whether or not there was a war that was going to happen, that was uncertain. And many things happened thereafter. When the Taliban insurgency happened, there was a civil unrest here in South Africa. There was civil movements in Oregon, in America, and there were civil movements in Zimbabwe. But we see all of these shakings in the world transpiring during this time. And as they transpire, a class of worshippers is being made up while another class of worshippers are being bound up. Demons and evil spirits started moving into the social media over the girls in Adventism fighting with me about many things, the messages, the money that came with them to support me, and also the popularity I was gaining over the new position I was entering into, that being Queen Esther and Queen Victoria. It seems to be very abnormal, but it's extremely normal to me. Maybe it's because I can already see from history how these things have happened. It is not my lineage to be under the monarchy in England, but it is within God's power to set me as a queen, as a first in my lineage. I don't know how that will go, because Queen Esther was not a Queen Victoria, and Queen Victoria was not a Queen Esther. But you find one person taking on a Queen Esther and a Queen Victoria, when Queen Victoria ultimately was Joseph for England. But you see these symbols come into play, where I'm not called to be the Queen of England, and I'm called to be the Queen in Shushan. And Shushan is a two-horned nation. It is the Medes and the Persians, and that is the Middle East. But more importantly, it is the United States of America. So how does God set a Queen Esther with Islam along to become also a Queen Victoria? It can only be for Rome. Rome is the only symbol that stands as a symbol that can accommodate a Joseph under Potiphar, who's an atheist that does not believe in Adventism, and also as Queen Esther, who is a link to Islam, where Islam is a donkey, and unfortunately they're not literally a donkey as people. They're amazing people, but in the Bible they're a symbol of a donkey. But when you look at them as people, they play a huge role as an army in this story to act a part, even though they do not work to fight for Rome. They work as an army in this part to bring about this commotion. This commotion is pushing on, because it says at the end of the day, he shall war with every man, and every man shall war with him. How then does the Netherlands bring money to South Africa to come and thank me in a way? When I asked on my LinkedIn page